Well, I like the piece. I saw this work online and really responded to just the sort of Southern Gothic elements of this piece. I mean, can you identify some of the parts and where they come from? The iconography?
Right. The title of this piece is, and I call this a quilt because it's in a structure which is quilt-like. I call this one Low Country Scenes.
Okay.
I have a little place at Sunset Beach in North Carolina. So when the drive back and forth, this is what I see. I see house, I see a trailer, I see trees, I see buzzards, I see tobacco barns, like down here, and fences. It's kind of a justification for the 5.5 hour drive it takes me, is to actually use something that I'm, again, directly confronted with everyday experience. And so that's the source of this. These with a stretch of the imagination. These are stop signs. These are the roads in between. Half of them are black, which is nighttime. Half of them are white, which obviously is daytime. And then the edge of it is covered with what you don't see, which are the pistils. The pistils here.
Piece too. So this one's more of a consistently. As I look at that, the more consistent diagrammatic piece. Where's that? Is that how does that evolve in terms of what's your relationship? They're clearly both quilts,
right?
Are they based on specific patterns of quilts?
This one is.
Okay.
This is a quilt that I saw in the Cameron Art Museum in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was based in this structure. It wasn't this image,
right?
But it was in this structure, and it was a historic one. I think it dated to something like 1937, and of course, like most quilts, it was done by a group of people who got together, which of course I liked that idea. I did this myself. If I could have found some other people to help me cut out buzzards, that would have been fine. But anyway, it was in black and red, and this was the patterning of it, and the image was repeated in all the squares. So what I did was I took the image of the buzzard, and then I twisted it a quarter of the way around, twisted it again, and twisted it again, as if you've observed them. Then when they fly, they go in a circle, and so that pattern then works its way all the way through.
As I hear you say that, he shows up a lot in your work, I've noticed. Is there something about, does the circle have a particular meaning for you in particular?
Well, it's the subject. This is a wreath. So this is a wreath of pistils. And it's both white and sort of black. So it again has that duality, just like downstairs with the red and the black. Right. It's the white and the black as a wreath. And then after I finished this one, I did this guy over here, which is a crown of pistils.
Okay.
And
that's
so
nice
of course it hangs then, it hangs as if it were a crown, and is just suspended in space. Yeah. As a whole series, some of them are covered up now. This one is exposed. But I called these Reflections on the 20th Century. And I did them right toward the end of the last century, so I guess I did them a little over 10 years ago as my reflection back on this. And they really make reference, a lot of them make reference to the old Life magazines that I, as a child in the 1940s, everyone had Life magazine. And they were basically black and white images, but there were so many war images, and I still recall looking at them, and then being horrified and shutting the magazine back and forth. But anyway, this is based on a photograph that my oldest sister had a boyfriend who fought in the Philippines in the war, and they paid the Japanese. The story was, he gave to me, that they paid not the Japanese, but the Filipinos to bring back Japanese heads. Wow. And they were stacked. They were put in a stack, sort of like grapefruits, in a, in a supermarket kind of thing. And he showed me the black and white pictures, and they were so embedded in my mind that that's what this one is about. And this is a kind of a night scene is the way I saw it. This is the sea to here. This is the land starting here and going down.
One of the perspectives I had on you before I came was I was talking to the Greenville Museum of Art, and they were talking about how you're such a mellow, nice guy, and they said maybe that's the reason is you're so cathartic with your work. Everything comes out. Does this catharsis play a piece when you're talking about these images that are locked in your psyche? Mm-hmm. Is this sort of a way of expelling that? Or?
If it is, it's not intentional.
Okay.
I make what I make, and I do what I do, and like I say, I fall into things like it's this. My wife had a contemporary crafts gallery attached to our home when we had so many friends in the Penland School up in North Carolina. And she got a catalog one day with all sorts of things in it. And it had all the things you needed at Valentine's, all the things you need for Christmas, 4th of July, all that kind of stuff. When I saw these images that you could buy, I simply ordered, I don't know how many dozen of them, and then I simply went to the local sports store and I bought the targets, and so I made this sort of the contrast again between the targets, both in pattern, color, whatever you want it to be, and then the intent of this and the intent of this, that sort of duality.
Yeah, Cupid's arrow within the target of your affection, or being a target of somebody else's affection.
Right, but that's right. Yeah. That's kind of. But I just like the energy that it had, and I love the fact that I could take these little Cupid things and wiggle the legs around and put them in different positions.
Play seems a really important element with your work. You just like to, you gather stuff and you play with it. It just sort of becomes what it is. I mean, as you create, I'm looking around thinking about, one could see a lot of potential darkness in terms of the iconography of targets, but it doesn't, what I think I look at this one, it's got those primary colors, is not as threatening. So are you trying to make us look more intently by not being as threatening like this?
Well, or trying to make you wonder why.
Right.
Why would someone, number one, why would someone make something like this to share with someone else?
Well, that's an interesting point you bring up, the idea of sharing. I think, a lot of artists are creating in a sort of studio by themselves, and from what I'm hearing you say, you frequently think about the audience, thinking about giving back to a public, or that interaction is really a crucial part of how you design.
Yeah, I think, again, it gets back to that art education, that art isn't this special thing that you do on Sunday afternoon when you have time. Not just make it, but let's say go to an art museum, or anyone who ever wants to visit my studio, they have an open invitation to it.
Here. You'll get lots coming by, because this is a great space.
But I think it's something that operates with us, all day, all week, every month, every year. It's a continuum, and it's not just, and I don't think of art as being, this sounds kind of funny, I don't think of art as being a special activity. I think it's just, it's a human activity that we've done for thousands and thousands of years.
I couldn't agree more.
From the cave painters to me, painting these guys.
Thanks for having us here, John. We really appreciated your time.
Thank you for coming.
I just want to remind everybody you can log on to artseemagazine.com, where you can subscribe and you can watch past episodes of Artsee Live. Thanks for being here. Bye.